Today's episode is brought to you by our company, NanoChomp Marketing Strategy and Analytics. We help product and marketing teams solve problems and experience growth using data and approachable AI. Visit nanochomp.com to learn more. Hey everyone, today on Soundbites we have a really great guest, Natalia Zacharin. Natalia is the founder of Zacharin Consulting, a firm helping business owners gain financial clarity and build profitable, resilient companies. With expertise in CFO services, bookkeeping, and financial coaching, she empowers entrepreneurs to scale strategically. And you have a really interesting backstory that's pretty unconventional, where you've had to adapt, you've had to overcome, and you've had to come over a lot of obstacles along the way that I think a lot of people wouldn't realize, but is a great part of the story. So, Natalia, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
So right off the bat, let's talk about the early days. So how did you start? Where did everything come from? And what got you down this path?
So I had an unconventional start, like you had mentioned. I never thought about starting a business. And I was in sales before for a long time. I had a company car, all the things. I then quit my job to be a stay-at-home mom for 6 years. And during that time period, I went through a divorce. So when I returned back into the workforce, no one was hiring. It was 2012. I was 42 years old, and no one wanted to hire me. All of my past relationships, everything had pretty much died. So I started out I kept downgrading my expectations. First I wanted to get like a full-time job and a salary, and then I downgraded that, and then so I started looking for waitressing jobs, and I didn't have any experience. No one wanted me. So I finally walked into White House Black Market, the women's clothing store. I used to shop there all the time, and I begged them for a job, and they hired me at $7.10 an hour. And so when I got my first paycheck, it was about $240. It was less than my electric bill. So it was pretty brutal. But from there, I knew that if I got one job, it would stair step to the next. And so from there, I got the next job at $12 an hour. And then I landed my job in my first financial role, which was an invoicing clerk for a corporation. And I befriended the CFO there. I was reporting to him. And when the controller left, I walked into his office and said, whatever she was doing, can you just show me what she was doing, and I'll help. And I had no idea what a controller was. I'm literally an invoicing clerk. And he said, here's a QuickBooks, just do it. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. And he said, you'll figure it out. So I don't, to this day, I'm still not sure if I really did it correctly. But that was my first financial experience. And then I was there for several years. After that, he left, the CFO left. They had a lot of changes in management, and they demoted me, I think, to try to get me to leave. I was close to 50 years old. I was turning 50 that year. They demoted me back down to a level that was considered poverty for the state of Maryland, I think trying to get me to leave. But I saw the writing on the wall. I had been looking for work. I was really trying. No one was biting. At this point, I'm near 50, single mom. And I was dating a guy at the time who's now my fiance. And he said, why don't you start your own business in bookkeeping? And he had a tax firm. And I thought, I could do this on the side. So he sent me like this course on starting your own business. I went through this course. And I reached out on LinkedIn to a bunch of people, and someone reached back out, and I closed my first deal, and I had no idea what I was doing. And that's how it started.
That's wild.
There's a lot to unpack there, right?
Yeah.
It's such a wild path. And when we're relating to it, it's crazy because you had something that was stable, you had a career, you had, everything was moving in the right direction, you have this family, and then a domino hits and a lot of your life starts unpacking all at the same time. And that's super hard for people to overcome, let alone process and keep their family alive.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. My first thought was, I thought I did everything right. I had a college degree. I got married. I was faithful as a faithful wife, a mom. And I'm like, what happened? What did I do wrong? Because there was, it sounds like it's all okay now, but it was pretty terrible for a long time. and then it would just get better and get terrible again. And meanwhile, like I'm trying to date and having like not good relationships with other men because I'm trying to figure that piece out. My dad was dying of cancer. I was in poverty several times. Like it was like a never ending story. I had health issues. Like I was like, can anything else go wrong? For years.
I feel like, it sounds like you were backed into a corner. You didn't have a choice. You said you had a family, right? So it's like when you don't have an option, it's like you're going to do whatever it takes to get out of that, right? What was, I guess, like, what was the hardest part of that, right? It's like because you still had a child, you still had to like figure out how to bring in, income for your family. Like what was the hardest part of that process? You said you had a lot going on, but like what was the most challenging?
One of the most challenging was the restriction of I can't just get any job anywhere because I do have a child at home. I can't afford a lot of aftercare. I want to spend time with her. She was like 8 years old at the time, so still really young. I had no family really in town. And so I couldn't just get a night job making extra cash. So it was like I had my work hours while she went to school, and then she actually did have after school care, and I had to rush to get home. And when she started also having trouble by middle school into high school, when she started having trouble with like getting into groups of kids that were not like the ones that I really wanted her to be friends with, I was like, I need to figure this out and be home because I was constantly commuting and gone.
Derek mentioned, when when things started to fall apart, it was like a domino effect. But it sounds like when you got this job, you got that first job, it's like, okay, someone will actually pay me for something. You had sort of a domino effect in the other direction, right? It was like you got another job and then another job. And then you took, this invoicing clerk position. And then you asked a CFO, like, what do you think? Like, what about your personality made it so like you walked into the CFO's office and said, teach me what this controller was doing when you had never done it before? Like, what was that? Yeah. What instinct or what personality trait allowed you to do that? Because I think that would scare a lot of people.
That would scare a lot of people. And it's really interesting that you mentioned that. A few years ago, we hired Culture Index. They do personality testing and they have consultants. And that's how we do our hiring. Well, when we hired them, I found out I'm a daredevil. It's my personality. And so I'm a very high A type personality. Like and a high social. So I don't want to just win. I want everybody to win around me. Also, I want to bring everybody with me. So I think that helps, deductive reasoning, high assertive personality. And then my data and my detail and like the rule following aspect is kind of low. So also probably why I was like, I'll start an accounting firm. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I was just thinking, it's like you're a daredevil and you want to write your own rules.
Yeah,
you started your own business.
So I think it's the way I'm wired. And, but I had no idea because I had been crushed by life for so long. And I think I also allowed, and as we do when we're growing up, and that's why like when you get into your 40s and you're figuring things out and then to your 50s, it's so brilliant because when you're younger, everybody else is telling you who you are. And then you don't realize who you actually are. So when I found out I'm this daredevil, I was like, that's totally not me. Absolutely not. I'm terrified of everything. Not me at all. And everybody around me was like, that's totally you.
Interesting that you didn't identify that within yourself.
Not at all until I kind of started thinking back. So like at 24, I left. I shipped my car across the country and left without having a job or anything like that. And I just kind of figured it out. Like in my 20s, I used to travel to all over the world, to Russia by myself to visit friends, So like, I had always done things, but they were normal. I was never fearful, but then I felt like life turned on me in a way that I wasn't expecting, and it took over a decade to kind of get back on track. With many times, like you said, I would go up and then down, up and down. I'm like, when am I going to figure this out?
That's so hard.
Yeah.
Because it's like, when does it ever get better, right? You keep like, and like you mentioned, you did everything right. You followed the roadmap, you did everything right. And just like meteor after meteor kept blasting you, it feels like. But it put you on this unexpected path that ended up giving you a better outcome than you could have expected on the safe path that the original life was taking you down.
That's so true. when I reframed it, and with the help of like my fiance at the time, because he's an entrepreneur, and even my sister and a bunch of other people, I reframed it as the universe is telling me that the path I'm on is not the right one for me.
Yeah, and it just took you a couple nudges before you agreed with that.
Yes. I actually, when I knew I was getting demoted and pretty much getting fired, my fiance was like celebrating. He's like, "Yay, that means you're a real entrepreneur." And if I didn't have that in the background, I would have felt crushed.
Yeah.
I would have, because I love working and I love doing a really good job. So I was really, it was very emotional for me, but this took me out of that and put me into a different path. So I think reframing is such an amazing opportunity to change your life.
When you first got on, you first got your client, you started this, consulting firm that you had no interest in doing or expectation of doing. Like, what surprised you most about, starting your own business, or what were you like, what did you not expect about the whole startup process and and getting clients?
So much. Sorry, I'm like interrupting you so much.
No, you're fine.
So first, I had no idea how to price things, which is really normal. My first client is still my client, which is so funny.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And what was really surprising was that I don't think, and this is still very common in the industry, I don't think that bookkeepers are reading the financials to understand like whatever they do on the side of bookkeeping, how does that impact the financials? So when I looked, I was like, this makes no sense. Like his financials, I was learning on YouTube, basically, how to do it. And I'm like, this makes no sense. So, and I guess like I'm pretty good at numbers apparently. But I was like, I realized right away that he already had a bookkeeper. He hired me as someone to oversee his bookkeeper, and everything she was doing was wrong. And I actually didn't even really know how to do bookkeeping. So that was really surprising to me. The other thing that was really surprising was, not quoting correctly, I did a full cleanup for an entire year and I didn't charge for it at all. I had no idea. It took me like 40 hours and I did not charge for. That's actually pretty normal. But the most amazing thing is I didn't know that this is like an entirely different universe, that I could start getting clients and change my life one client at a time, to the point where later that year I quit my job, not ready to even, I couldn't even pay my mortgage yet, but I knew that I couldn't do both at that point. So I quit in August, the month I turned 50, I think within the same week actually that I was turning 50. Wow. And by November I tripled my client base. So I had like 11, 12 clients, still not lighting up the world. But by the following year, literally a year exactly after I started, I was making more money than I ever had. Still not lighting up the world, but making more money than I ever had. And my car died. And I I had no car note. So I was really disappointed that my car died. And my fiance said, it's just one client, just close another client. And so when I started looking at things from that perspective, I have complete control over my destiny now, because everything is just one more client.
That's an interesting shift. And like, there's a few things to unpack there too. It's like a lot of times we see this too, because we do consulting for marketing and strategy, and we do it very data driven. Mm-hmm. And if everything is in place, it changes the whole dynamic of the engagement, but it's never in place. So you quote it as if, okay, this, and this are true. And then you'd come in and you start kicking over rocks and you open closet doors and you're like, uh-oh, it's like, we might've greatly underestimated what it's going to cost or how many hours it's going to cost. So we ended up shifting a little bit to what we call a productized service, effectively, to help change what the monthly expectations are every month. But that's tough. Like same thing for us. Early on, it took us hours to make proposals to get like a 50% close rate. And then once we'd get that proposal through, we'd still mess up or underbid, or it's tricky to get that right.
I was going to say, I think so early on in the process, you're so grateful to even have a potential client that you want to win them no matter what, even if it means spending a whole year doing something and not charging for it. And then it becomes untenable as you get more and more clients to give away things for free. I think you can like surprise and delight your clients and give them maybe little add-ons and stuff to keep them engaged and happy. But like the way in which we were probably doing so much work for no dollars, just because we were grateful and to have the client, we didn't want to lose them. I mean, in the first few years that we started, that was commonplace for us.
That was very commonplace for me as well. What I see also now that I'm a CFO for dozens of companies, that is very commonplace for a lot of business owners. And what's very common also is to start deciding you're going to hire because you're busy, not because you can afford it. And understanding the numbers. So in 2020, at the end of 2020, I was like, I need to hire someone. I can't handle all these clients anymore. And I realized I won't be able to afford it to start hiring. So I wasn't charging appropriately. And I had to double my pricing basically. And it was very painful to do that because I would get on a sales call. So I'm like terrified to begin with. I'm still trying to close a deal and not feeling 100% confident yet. So I'm getting on a sales call knowing that I have to increase my pricing to a certain level so that I can hire someone. And I would psych myself out and lower the cost on the call. They wouldn't even ask. Like it was normal to them. If I had just acted like this was the normal price, it would have been normal to them also. And so every time I'd close someone still not at the price I wanted to, my fiance would tell me, well, I guess it wasn't painful enough for you yet. And that's true.
Kind of, good advice. Because like you're either going to experience the pain there or in the engagement when you've underbid it.
Yes.
Related to this, one of the things that Lauren had mentioned is, we were doing a lot of things for free because we were so grateful. Like, oh, we just gotta, we'll just do this. We'll just get this thing done for the client. But the painful part for us, what we learned, there was a guy that we know, and he had used the phrase "winking in the dark," and that sticks with me a lot. He's like, "You're doing all these favors for people. You're doing all these nice things for people, but they don't even know you're doing it. Like, you're literally like giving them a wink, wink." But you're doing it in the dark. They don't even realize that it's happening. So they're not even attributing all that work you're doing to you. And I was like, I never even looked at it that way. He's like, yeah, so it's okay to do that and help somebody, but you got to let them know when you're doing somebody a solid, you got to let them know. If you're going to cut somebody a deal, you got to let them know. And then to your point there, one of the things that same person talked to me about was negotiating on scope and not price. He's like, when people push back on you on scope, on pricing, you can either accept it or decline it, but don't do the same work for less price. Just shift the scope to match their pricing. And I'm like, huh, interesting. And that sounds like what the lesson that you had to learn as well.
Yes. And a lot of times when I'm talking to clients, I tell them that also, well, then give them tiers. Like, okay, well, you don't want to pay this tier of service when we have this other level as well. And I think that's very helpful for us. What I do now as well, because I agree with you, if you do something for free and someone doesn't know that it's free, they actually don't even appreciate it as much. They just think that it's just normal. I do tell people, and I love giving like free advice. I have clients that are not our CFO level clients that'll jump on and be like, hey, let me help you out. I can just, for an hour, I'm going to read you your financials and give you, and we'll talk and we'll give you like step by step of what you need to do next without signing up for our other level. I can do that now because my pricing is right. But I don't do it for free. I let them know that I'm doing it for free. It's something that does cost them, but in exchange, can they write me a review? And so that way there is still an exchange of something, because I want to get reviews, and we're actually new on Google. We just got a website last year, so you don't have to have a logo or website to build a multi-million-dollar business.
I was going to say, that is interesting. So did you get most of your clients through referrals or outreach? You said you were messaging a lot of folks on LinkedIn.
Yes, everything. I called it the leave no stone unturned. Literally, like in line at the grocery store, I'd start chatting with someone and tell them I'm an accountant, a bookkeeper, anyone that came to my house for any kind of work, like a plumber, the guy who would like take the the junk out, like the junk hauler. Everybody, I'd say, hey, do you need a bookkeeper? Need an accountant? My friends and family started making fun of me because that's all that would come out of my mouth every time, everywhere we'd go. So there was outreach on LinkedIn. I joined a lot of other business groups. I joined a women networking group, which was really helpful because women like to buy from women also.
Yeah.
And then I started finding referral partners as well. And my fiance, he was my boyfriend at the time, he actually did not send me any referrals. He had his own bookkeeper for the first 3 years. And I probably, because I don't know if he trusted that I knew what I was doing yet, and I don't blame him.
You're like, I was still figuring it out myself.
Yeah, exactly. So he now sends me referrals also. So I have several referral partners at this point. So it's building on all, it's really firing on all cylinders. Mm-hmm. And I've done it piecemeal over time, like the free stuff first. But referrals, you can't really build a predictable revenue or predictable model on referrals only, mm-hmm. and they can dry up, and they have. So at this point, we're like, we have ads and social media, and like I said, I now have a website, and we have like everything firing on all cylinders at this point.
How has that shift been from, I know you have the sales background from before you got married, so it sounds like you've been utilizing that to get new clients, but like, how is this shift to really doing proactive outreach and marketing and having more of a digital footprint? What has that been like for you guys?
It is painful to set up and to watch your money go out the door while it's getting figured out. Yeah. But that's why it's so important for every business to price appropriately, understand their financials, have cash in the bank, a couple months worth of expenses in the bank, because you can't stop taking risks, and you have to take those risks to get to the next level. So for me, it was probably, like figuring out who to hire and who was going to do a good job. So I went through 2 marketing agencies, spent about $250,000 and with nothing really to show for it, and hired a salesperson also. Couldn't tell if the salesperson was good at closing because I didn't have good leads coming in. Right. And I had assumed that the leads would come in because 2 years ago, I'd actually started ads and I was getting so overwhelmed, I shut them down. So same company, same ads, but everything had changed with Meta.
Right.
So I went through 2 companies. The third person that I'm using now figured it out. Like he turned it on Sunday, and by Tuesday we had booked leads on our calendar. And now I have 3 salespeople and that running. So I kind of wait till I figure a piece out, and I probably should have left the other companies sooner than I had. Like if marketing's not working, or you're or actually ads, if ads are not working and you're not getting booked calls, then you need to keep holding them accountable. Like that's not okay. And I know I was getting like really busy, and I was kind of like hoping it would just work, but I spent a ton of money that I didn't have to. And you guys, that's like, I think your realm, so you probably know that even better.
Well, you and I kind of talked about this high level, because there's an intersection here. We talked about this during our discovery call, was we've seen it where people will misdefine what a conversion is. So like there's different expectations of what conversion means. Does that mean someone going to your webpage, filling out a form, booking something, buying something? Like there are different things. And then the example that you and I were talking about, Lauren and I were on a call with a company, and I'll yada yada over it as much as I can. But what came down to it is their lifetime value of the customer was less than their acquisition cost, but they didn't realize it because they kept getting so much just raw growth month over month that they would put ads out, get new clients, use that money to put ads out to get new clients. And, so they're going up and to the right. But Lauren and I kicked over a rock and we're like, nobody buys twice. And so like their conversion rate looked good and they were high-fiving themselves and it looked profitable, but really they were losing significant money every month because the acquisition cost exceeded the single purchase price. And I think that's probably something that in your world, you end up seeing a lot as people are trying to grow and scale and build. They wash over little mistakes like that. Not even a little mistake, but like they don't see some of the mistakes in the forest.
Yes. Some of the things that are really important, I think we talked about, where it was client acquisition cost or customer acquisition cost or CAC, CPL, which is cost per lead, lifetime value, the LTV, like ratios of those things. Those are really important to see. Also, if you have a sales team, like what percentage actually shows, what percentage shows up for the sales call, and then what percentage is actually closed. So like there's so many different pieces of it. And for me, it's like a straight line. Like it's basically from the top line down, right? Of having some kind of lead generation that works, then having them become prospects, then having them become clients, then having them stay. And so all of that goes down like the P&L. And it's really interesting because if you have a lead generation problem first, then you're going to have probably a cash and profit problem. Then if you fix the lead generation problem and you have a sales closing problem, that's like the next one down the line. And then once you fix that issue, now you're going to have an onboarding problem or a delivery problem. So like it's, but you just need to, that's what business is. It's just constantly trying to foresee those issues and fixing them as they're coming.
How has your offer changed since you first started your business? Have you evolved that at all? I'm sure you have, but yeah, in what ways has it changed?
Dramatically. And I'll say that I really love looking at what my competitors are doing on Facebook groups and LinkedIn and reading about what they do and reading what they complain about. And then, and also because I'm still actually in sales. I have 3 salespeople, but I still do some of the sales because it really helps me to see what's going on in my industry. So everybody should listen to what their prospect is telling them, because they're telling them exactly why they're looking for someone new. And that way you can take that information and make those changes. So some of the things that I heard over and over again is, I don't have good numbers. They're not accurate, or they're not up to date. So that's really important for us. And we've made changes, and I'll explain that in a second. And then the other thing they kept telling us is, okay, so now I have my numbers. I have no idea what to do now to make changes in my business to improve my situation. And so that was a recurring concern on all these sales calls or talking to clients. So we started on the CFO services in January 2021, just 2 years in. Again, kind of like I'm learning at the same time as providing services, which is that's a dangerous thing to do, but it's also I still know more than the client because I'm really focusing on that learning, and they don't have that time. And I'm running my own business too. So everything that I'm learning and fixing and doing is not just theory. It's actually happening. That's why it's really important for us to also have a very big scaling business, because then we know what we're talking about. The accuracy and making sure that everything is on time. I have managers in place, so I have an in-house controller. Every single financial before it goes out to a client every single month gets reviewed. So we take that extra step and that extra cost to do that because it's so important to me, because that's not what the industry is doing. And so by the time we get someone, they're disappointed, someone ghosted them, they haven't heard from them, something doesn't look right. So we're looking at all of those issues, and we're making changes constantly. And so every time someone comes to me and says there's a problem, I had a client about 6 months ago message me and says, I haven't received anything for 3 months. And I was like, what happened? And instead of getting angry, it was, well, this is an issue that we need to fix so it never happens again. So what fell through that we didn't notice as managers, that something didn't happen for 3 months, and then what happened with the staff accountant that it didn't happen. So like we made changes. We're constantly revising, reviewing, iterating.
I think that's something that we've been getting good at too, is refining our internal workflows. I feel like in the early days of anything, you end up reactionary. Like things happen and you just come scramble. We're good solution creators. We'll figure out how to do that. And then after when Lauren and I would scramble the jets to solve the same problem twice, it's like, okay, this needs to be a workflow, or a robot needs to do it now. Mm-hmm. And so we would find out how to define something as the most clean workflow we could. And then once you have really clean workflows, well, you can either have easy time onboarding somebody to do that because it's documented, or you can have a computer, a robot, go through and execute that workflow. So everywhere we moved in our world went from scramble to workflow, and then determining what needs a good workflow versus what just needs a little tweak to what's already existing. And then there's that balance of like too much process can suffocate something too. So finding where that fine line is important.
Mhm.
And it sounds like y'all have to work with that with a lot of different industries and different businesses. What industries do you work with a lot, and which ones are the most effective, and which ones are the potential problem child industries that you see?
Sure. We actually don't have a niche. And as a true CFO service, if you're really a CFO, you don't need a niche. You can
Yeah.
figure out the numbers and have a conversation and really understand like what needs to be where. And that's one of the things that I've actually really learned. So sure, is it easier to niche down? It is, but it's more of an assembly line. And you can create an assembly line and you can almost train anybody into it. I want us to be better than that. So we work with a lot of different industries, and some of them are very, very different. A lot of service-based industries, those are the easiest. We have some marketing companies that we work with. We have some IT services. We do a lot with managed service providers. We work a lot with architects and engineers. We also work with real estate, real estate is very complicated. So anybody in the real estate, and there's so many complications and differences between, is it long-term rentals? Is it short-term rentals? Are you flipping? Are you selling the mortgages? Like, what are you doing? We have one that does all of it, which makes it so, and they're all separate LLCs because it makes it very complicated. And that's like a cash flow crunch all the time in the real estate industry. We have real estate agents. They tend to be less organized because they're just going. So having the organization is really, really important for them. We have several pharmacies. That is a super interesting business. Several independent pharmacies. Very, very interesting business where, because of all of the changes in all of the laws and the procedures, their revenue keeps going up. Their cost of goods sold, the cost of the drugs, also goes up just as fast as their revenue is. So to make the same amount of profit, they have to bring in a lot more business. So we can actually see in a graph their revenue and their cost of goods sold is going up this way, and their profit is staying the same, like just the same. So the gap between profit and gross profit is bigger and bigger and bigger. So for them to stay in business, they have to keep selling more and keep selling more. Very interesting business model. Restaurants are really very similar too, because they have a very high cost of goods sold. So they're very similar in that regard. We haven't really worked a lot with manufacturing. We work a lot with people that have inventory, but not with manufacturing. Once the business model that's the most difficult, I think, is anything that requires a business to take a lot of loans in the beginning. So the more money you spend to start the business, the harder it is to get to that break-even point, and not everybody does. And so that's the hardest piece.
Is there like a certain company size that you seem to like niche well within? A lot of different industry, but I'm just curious if like someone who needs your services, it's like X million dollars in revenue, or like under 50 employees or 100 employees or something like that, if you've noticed a trend there.
I have noticed? So it doesn't make sense really to hire a CFO unless you're planning on scaling. So if you're at like $500,000 in gross revenue and you're scaling, it probably starts to make sense. It's never too soon really if you're really growing, because the faster you scale, the more you start spending, and your expenses start to increase erratically or increase on par with your revenue, and that's not what you want to happen. So in order to prevent that, it's better to start with someone sooner. The sweet spot is probably close to $1 million in revenue is when they start with us. Many times people come to us because they're responding to our ads. They're already in trouble. They can't make payroll. They're already out of cash. So it's better to start sooner than later, because everything is fixable, but it's more painful when you have to fix it. So what I'm seeing more and more is this really interesting trend that companies that are over 20 million in gross sales, they should be hiring full-time people in-house, and they're not. And I think the reason why they're not is because they haven't perfected figuring out who that hire is, and those hires are really expensive. So for instance, to get like a really good bookkeeper, we're talking about an average of 60 to 75,000 in salary. To get a controller, we're talking now about 85,000 and up. And then for a CFO, that's like a 200,000 and up salary. So if you're getting all three, and once you're at 20 million and more, you should really start considering getting like a suite of financial people. That becomes an expensive mistake if you don't know what you're looking for, and if you don't know how to transition people out, or if they should be transitioned out, because a lot of business owners don't even know how to read their financials, or they don't even know if they're wrong. So I think they've gotten interested in fractional services because we've perfected hiring those people, and we take the brunt of the wrong hire.
Yeah. So yeah, it de-risks them making a significantly expensive wrong decision at a really critical juncture in their business growth.
Yes. And so they're going to so our clients, we have several now over 10 million and up to 35 million, which is, I think, crazy. And they're still using us for bookkeeping, AP, AR, and controller services, and sometimes CFO services. And that makes it easy also for them if they do decide to transition to someone else. They already know what it looks like because they're working with someone.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And when you're so you have kind of a sweet spot in company size and life cycle, not necessarily industry, and you can pick up the nuances of the industry as needed as you guys are in an engagement. And we talked about lead generation. We talked about the business growth. When you are working with these customers, are a lot of them, what percentage would you say are looking for an exit versus looking to build a sustainable lifestyle brand that can continue to provide for them and their families?
So that's a really interesting question. Our goal is always to create a business that's sellable, even if it's not going to be sold, because that creates a much healthier business model and much more profitable. So the question always is, most people want to sell in like 5 to 10 years or wherever they are at. And a lot of that has to do with their age more than anything else, to be honest. So they do want to sell, but if they find after working on their business to get it to a point where it becomes more valuable to sell, they're actually doing less and less and less, because a business is not sellable if the owner is doing everything. So if you're doing less and less and less as the owner, and you're really only managing the business, making sure everybody else is doing their job, and you're overseeing the culture, you're the visionary, you're the innovator, and you're doing all the things that you were really supposed to be doing, some people then decide, I don't actually want to sell this because it's a cash cow at this point. The problem with selling your business is if you don't get a good deal, you could be stuck working for them for 5 years, and now someone else is managing you. That is tricky for some people. You also have a finite amount of money that comes in for the sale, and so that is a scary thing. That maybe you get $5 or $10 million or even more, but that's it. That's a finite amount. Now you have to figure out how to live off of that. So that's why a lot of people start a secondary business, or they start something else again. But if you can have something that is just running pretty much on its own, and you're checking in, and it's just giving you several million a year, like, why not stay forever and until you really don't want to work until your 70s. So we're seeing lots of different scenarios, and I think it really has to do with, if the person is in pain where they're working a tremendous amount, they want to get out sooner. And if they can figure out how to put everybody into position where it's not as painful and they're not working a million hours, and having all of this stress, then they want to get out. I mean, they want to stay in. They want to stay in.
You mentioned, you said that folks who are finding you now are probably already in trouble. And I can imagine that those conversations can be pretty intense, right? Like, I'm sure there's some fear there. There's some big emotions there. So I'm wondering how you navigate that, because I can imagine that can be kind of challenging.
Yes, that's actually part of our training. It's the difference between a stressed out entrepreneur. So entrepreneurs are very A-type, assertive. They want to get things done. Money and taxes are triggering. They could get annoyed, or they could sound aggressive or rude.
Yeah.
And so it's the difference between understanding, are they just having a tough time, or is that their personality? Maybe we don't want to work with them. Um, and so there's been a few where they've been overly rude and yell at us on a regular basis that doesn't make sense for them to do so. And they're not treating us well. They don't have respect for us. They go. We don't work with anybody that we don't want to work with. That's kind of rare. It's only happened a couple of times, but it has happened. The CFO services are always a combination of strategy, data, and mindset, psychology, and therapy. I've had people cry. I've had people get really upset. I've had people feel like they're backed into a corner. I've gotten on calls at 11 p.m. on a Friday. I've been in triage after surgery and gotten on a call with a client.
No. Oh, no.
I'm like, oh, I might as well take this call. I'm just sitting here doing nothing, I mean, like, I am obviously very dedicated and passionate. If I can do it, I'll do it. I don't expect my team to necessarily do that, but my team is so aligned with, we just want to help. I've had my other CFO, he's a CPA and our CFO, and he manages some of the team. He'll take calls while he's on vacation. I'm like, please don't, like, go relax. He's like, no, there's no reason not to. So it's, sometimes it's just like literally jumping on. And I had a client call me and say that she's getting sued because she defaulted on rent a few years ago, and now it's come to surface, and she was really worried. And I'm not a legal advisor. Like, there's not really much I can actually help her with, except that I can hold her hand and say, you're going to be okay. No matter what happens, we're going to work through it. If you want me to, be in touch with you and your lawyer, like if you want me involved, or one of our CFOs, that's totally fine. So sometimes it's just letting them know that someone is there to help them, to feel supported.
Gosh, I feel like your life is so different now. You have a large team, you have a business worth $2.5 million. Like, what's next, or what's exciting to you about the future?
The hiring. So we have our 18th person starting next week.
Amazing.
Where our goal is to hit 4 million this year. That puts us, like, we're kind of in mid-market. It's really interesting because accounting firms are either $1 million and less, and there's tons and tons and tons of them, or they're like the really, really big ones at like 100 million, and there's not a lot in between. So I'm excited about keep growing and really reinventing the CFO role of helping people. And hiring. We opened up an office, which I can't wait to actually want to get some local people because we're 100% remote. I want us to be more hybrid, to have a local office. I have an office right on the water in Canton, Baltimore. It's a beautiful view. So I'm excited to grow a local presence. I don't know. It's fun. There are the days, just like any entrepreneur, where I stay up at night. I'm like, worried about things. I'm worried I'm going to lose clients. I'm worried I'm overspending. I'm worried that my guesses and I'm going to just guess wrong. And I did last year. I was planning for a really big year, and the first 8 months fell flat. And so I was sweating bullets. But because I know my numbers and I know my cash, I still knew I had, I could ride it out. So I still have those days where I just want to stop and go garden and watch the birds and play. I have chickens, play with my chickens. But I'm just excited. If we can get to, like, my number keeps shifting. So I was like, at first, I just want to get to 250,000. Then I was like, I want to get to 1 million. Then I want to get to 2 million. I think my number last year was like, I think I can get to 10 million. And I think my number now is closer to 40 million. I don't know.
Amazing. Gosh.
Yeah, we're excited for you. We're excited to see where it goes and how it gets there. And we'll definitely talk more about data after the call. But all of that, we covered a lot of ground today. And I think, I warned you, gave you a heads up on this one. If you can give advice to yourself at 18, 25, or geez, at this point, maybe it's 40. Like, if you can just sit down and have dinner with that version of you, what does that conversation look like? What advice do you give that person in that moment?
I think I would definitely say, first of all, the thoughts that you had about yourself, that don't let someone else make you feel differently about yourself. So keep moving forward without fear and without reservation. Um, and and I think the biggest thing is, no matter what happens in life, if you keep moving forward and stepping forward, you'll take, one step forward, two steps back, but you'll keep moving forward eventually. Just don't ever give up. Don't stop, because things do happen if you just keep going. I think it's Alex Hormozy or someone that says that if you just keep doing something an inordinate amount of times, you will eventually become successful.
Yeah.
And I think that's true.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. Like we'll call that batting practice, right? Like the more times you swing the bat, the better you're going to get. And you can't get better at hitting a ball by reading about it. Like you actually, at some point, you actually have to just do it, and you have to be okay being bad at it, and you have to just go through those processes. There'll be ups and downs along the way. But I think that's good advice. And yeah, it's interesting because I think I told you that we haven't really had somebody give the same answer to that question twice, and we're still there. I don't think anyone's really.
Nope.
We have some common themes, but like never gotten the same answer twice.
Yeah.
I'm curious what, if you have any time, because I know you're running a huge business, but what books are you reading? What podcasts are you listening to? What's in your playlist? What do you have
Yes.
going on?
Oh, so many. I'm reading actually a book from, I was a guest on a podcast. It was a book from Rick McPartland. I forgot the name. I think it's called Revenue, Sales Revenue or something like that. So I'm reading that book. I'm reading two books. I went to go see Larry Linney. And I'm reading two books, Make the Noise Go Away and Leading Performance Because It Can't Be Managed. They're small, so I like small.
Yeah.
I'm reading a whole bunch on Audible, like every time I jump in the car.
Yeah.
Strong Ground by Brene Brown was something I just recently was reading. The Founder's Mentality, Hyper Sales Growth, Predictable Revenue. That's a really good one. I feel like I read a lot of financial books and financial metrics so that we can keep getting better and better. I believe that part of success is learning, and you will not be successful if you don't keep learning. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I love the Diary of a CEO and Modern Wisdom and like all the normal ones that everybody listens to. And I love being in entrepreneur groups. I want to be in the room where people are normalizing big failures and big successes. And I don't want to be the biggest business in the room. I want to be one of the smaller ones so I can keep growing.
To learn.
Yes.
The bigger ones, yeah.
Related to that point, one of the things that like has shifted as I've gotten older is like we talk with our clients about this too, especially new managers. It's like I've always wanted to be the person that had the answer. Like even if I didn't have it initially, I'd be like Googling it on my phone so I could be the person with the answer and seen as the person with the answer. And like as I progress and like basically off the comment you just made, you end up getting to a spot where having the right answer matters significantly less than being able to ask for the right question and like understand and how to break things apart. But yeah, what you just mentioned triggered that thought in my head. It's just like as you get older and as you learn a little bit more, the thing that you think is important is actually not so much, right? And it's interesting how that happens. Well, no, I think that's a great list. And you mentioned Modern Wisdom. This is completely unrelated to anything else we've talked about, but he's been going through some health issues, right? Like every now and again, I spot in like it's like mold or like a fungal thing that he thinks. So what's happening there? Do you know?
I don't know. I do have my own health issues. I have an autoimmune, and because I'm older, it was not something that a lot of people knew about or talked about. So I was diagnosed in my 20s over 30 years ago, and I'm only really feeling now that I'm getting the care that I needed. And part of that is that part of working so hard and making some money, because I came from poverty several times in my adulthood. And one of the first things that goes when you're in poverty is you do not have time for your health. Zero.
Yeah.
You don't take care of yourself. You're just going. If the dog gets sick and has to go to the vet and it's $500, that took me 6 months to pay off. It was really painful. I didn't get a mammogram. I didn't go to the doctor. It was pretty awful. So one of the benefits I think now is that I can actually take care of myself and my family for our health. And and work out and go to the gym and do all the things that are really important. So that's a non-negotiable is to take care of myself.
Yeah, I think people take that for granted that like when you have a family to feed or you have rent to pay, like going to the doctor for that issue,
Just gonna fall by
that's
the
going to
wayside.
wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like an emergency now, and we're
Yes.
seeing a lot more people realize in the media. Like in the media, you see it now. Like, well, I'm with the guy from Dawson's Creek passing so young,
James
and then
Vanderbeek.
yeah, James Vanderbeek, and then Eric Dane again, also pretty young. It's like we take for granted a lot of things. We always think there's tomorrow, and we got to take some of that stuff more seriously when we have the opportunities to. So Natalia, where can we find you? So we'll link your webpage. We'll link your LinkedIn. Is there anywhere else you want us to post links to?
Yes, absolutely. We have a page specific to your audience. It's going to be under ZacharinConsulting.com/bites, BITES for sound bites. There they'll find a couple of free giveaways. One is 7 ways to find money in your business now. Another one is the ultimate checklist for financial success. If you are interested in chatting with us, we have a calendar link there as well, but you don't have to book with us. You can just grab the freebies. We do have actually, just check out the website because we have several other resources there that are free, a lot of blogs, and a lot of other things as well.
Thank you so much. That's amazing. Thanks for doing that for our audience. Really appreciate it.
I hope they take advantage of it. They're actually really great downloads.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Natalia, it was great chatting with you, great learning about you, hearing about your story, how you built up to your business, and we're really excited to see where things go from here. So thanks so much for joining.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.